the RSC,
オムラン・シャラフ様です。
Mr. Omran Sharaf.
画面向かって左側、
And to
種
your
子島宇
left
宙
hand
センター
side,
会見室より
we have
三菱重工業株式会
Suzuki,
社
Director,
三菱打ち上げサービス
or
社長チーム
Mitsubishi
長の
Launch
鈴
Site
木です
Service Team of
本日
Mitsubishi
スピー
Heavy
カーはマイク
Industries.
着用せずにお話しさせていただきますので
These
ご了承く
speakers
ださ
will
い。
not be wearing a facial
そ
mask
れでは早
today
速で
during
す
their
が、三
speech.
菱
Than
重
you
工
for
の
your
鈴木より
understanding. So without
H2A ロ
further
ケット
ado,
42 号
we'd like
機の
to
打ち上げ時
invite
刻、
Mr.
準備
Suzuki
状況、
of
気象情報につ
Mitsubishi
い
Heavy
て資料に基
Industries
づき
to
ご
speak
報
to
告いた
you
します。
on H2L launch vehicle number 42 launch time readiness and weather information.
I'm Suzuki from Mitsubishi Heavy Industry. So we have just had the no and the no go and decision making and meeting, and we have decided to go ahead with the plan. And in May 18th, so we distributed the same information, but I'd like to just repeat what I have explained in May.
今申し上げました再配布本誌は5月18日に発表した内容ですと書いてある資料
And please take a look at the
42 号
material.
機による UAE 火星探査機砲機の打ち上げについてという資料をご
That
確認く
titled
だ
the
さい。
launch schedule of the H2A launch vehicle number
三菱重工
42,
業
which
株
carries
式会社
all the
は
help.
地通ロ
Mitsubishi
ケ
Heavy
ット
Industries
42号
hereby
機による
announces the
アラ
launch
ブ首
schedule
長
of
国連
the
邦の
H2A
ドバイ
launch
政
vehicle
府
number
宇宙機関である
42, which carries abroad the Emirates
NBRSC の
Mars
UAE 火星探査
Missions
機
or
ホープの打
EMM
ち上げに
Hope
ついて
spacecraft
下記の通
developed
り
by
実
the
施することを
Muhammad
お
bin
知らせい
Rashid
たしま
Space
す。
Center and
打
the
ち上げ
United
予
Arab
定日は
Emirates
2020年
MBRSC
7
is a
月
Dubai
15日
government
水曜日
organization. Launch
打
date
ち上げ
was
予定
the
時刻
July
は
15th,
午前5時
2020. Launch
51
time
分27秒
5:51:27
打ち上げ予
a.m.
備期間は
and reserved
7
launch
月
period
16
July
日から
16
8月
through
13
August
日となっ
13,
てございます。
2020. I have just read out the notice that we have
引き続きまし
distributed
て
May
H2A ロケ
18.
ット42号機プレスブリーフィングの資料についてご
And
説
let
明
me
申
now
し上
go
げま
to the
す。
press briefing, the
横
material. You
向
have
きの
the presentation material,
10枚ものの資料を
10-page
ご覧く
material
ださい。
is the one that you are supposed to take a look at.
最初のページ、はじめにと書いてあるページについてご説明申し上げます。
It's about our greeting.
まずご説明に先立ちまして、この度の
First
九
of
州を
all,
はじめとし
I
た
would
日
like
本
to
各地の
express
豪
our
雨によ
sincere
り被災され
condolences
た
to
皆様に
all
謹ん
those
でお
affected
願い
by the
を申し上げ
recent
たいと
heavy
思い
rain
ます。
in Kyushu and other parts of Japan.
また、新型コロナ
We
ウイ
would
ルス
also
感
like
染
to
症に罹
extend our
患された
deepest
皆様とご家
sympathies
族
to
および
everyone
関係者の
affected
皆
by
様
the
にも
COVID-19
謹んで
infection,
お見
their
舞い申
families
し上
and
げます。
others involved.
また、
And we would
社
like
会生
to
活を守
express
り
our
維持
deep
するために
gratitude
ご
to
尽
all
力され
those
てい
who
る
have
皆様
worked
に深
hard
く感謝
to
申し上げま
protect
す。
and maintain social life.
私たち
In
は
preparation
H2A
for
ロ
the
ケット
launch of the
42号
UAE
機によ
Mars
る
Mission
UAE 火
by
星探査機
H2A rocket
ホ
number
ープの打ち上げに
42,
向
we
け
have been paying
探査機準
close
備のため
attention to
海外より
preventing the
来島
spread
して
of
いるお客
infection
様とも一緒
together
になっ
with
て
visitors
種
from
子島へ
overseas
のウ
to
イルス持
prepare
ち
for
込
the
みおよ
launch.
び感染
We
拡大
would
防
like
止の
to
ため
express
細
our
心の注意を払
sincere
ってまいりました。
gratitude to the people
ロケット打ち上げ作
in
業にご理解
Tanegashima
とご協力を
for
いただ
their
いております地
understanding
域の皆
and
様に心より
cooperation
御礼
in
申し上げま
launching
す。
the rocket.
今後も打ち上げ関係者が一
We
丸
will
となって
continue to
万
work
全を期してまいり
together
ます。
to make every effort.
続きまして資料2
Next
ページを
page,
ご覧ください。
page 2.
H2A ロケット42号機の打ち上げ
This
準
is
備状況につい
H2
てご
launch
説明申し上げ
campaign
ます。
status.
H2A ロケット42号機は
H2A launch
6
vehicles
月
flight
6日に
number
出荷した後
42 was
車両
shipped
整備
from
作業を
Tabishima
開始
factory
して
to
ございます。
Tanegashima Space Center on
以下の通り車両整備作業を良好に
June
実施してお
6th.
り
The
ます。
launch campaign has started.
機能点検に関しましては7月
Therefore,
1
the
日ま
launch
でに
vehicle overall function test was completed by July 1st.
7月3日にはカウントダウ
The
ンリハーサ
countdown
ルを開
rehearsal
催いた
was
しまして
conducted on
関係
July
要員に
3rd
対
to
する
confirm the terminal countdown
対応手順
operation
の
for the
周知徹
launch
底
team
などを実施しておりま
members.
す。その後、7
After
月
that,
6日に火星探査機ホープをロケットの機体と結合する
UAE's
作業を実
Mars
施いたし
probe
ました。
Hope was mated with the
さら
launch
に7月
vehicle
8日にかけて
on
ロケット機
and
体
June
の最終的な
6th
機能
and
点検
June
フェアリングを
8th
結
we
合した
had
後の機能点検を実
the
施してこちら
functional
も良好に完
test
了。
after the
その
fairing
後7月
mating.
11日から
And
発射整備
11th,
作業を実施しておりま
we
す。
started the final preparation for the countdown.
3ページをご覧ください。
Page 3.
3ページは打ち上げ準備状況を図と写真で
And
示したもので
these
ござ
are
い
the
ます。
picture and schematic drawings for the launch
上に4
campaign
枚写
status.
真をつ
We
けて
have
おります
4
けれども、
pictures at
一
the
番
top.
左から
Left-hand
一
side,
段機体を
we
吊り上
have
げてい
the
るとこ
pictures
ろ、
of the preparation of
2
the
番目は2
first
段機体をその1段
the
機体の上
engine
部に
and
搭載しようと
first
しているところ、
stage and then the second on the
3枚目
stage.
は
And the
SRBA
third
ロケットブ
one
ースターを吊り上げて
is the
一段機体の横に取り付けようとしている
the
ところ。
launch vehicle.
最後
After the
一番
function
右の
test,
写
the
真は
payload atop
ホー
the
プが
launch
搭載さ
vehicle,
れたフ
and
ェア
the
リングを
final
吊り上げ
one
て二段機体の上
and
端に
the
結合しているところ
final
の作業状
the
況の写真
payload
になりま
is
す。
at the top of the launch vehicle.
4ページ目ご覧ください。
Please go to
4ペ
page
ージ目は
4.
今回の打ち上げで使用する縦矢と射点についてご説明してい
We
ます。
have the picture of
現
the
在機
launch
体は
pad and the vehicle assembly
図の
building.
右側にございます整備組み立て
Right-hand
と
side, you
VAB1 と
see
書
the
いてあるところに
VAB1,
起立した状
and
態で
this is the
整備を
building
継続しておりま
where
す。
we have the
この後打
rocket.
ち上げに向けて明日そのまま機体を立てた状態
And
で
the
図の左の方第一
The
射点
vehicle,
LP1 と書いてあ
erected
るところまで
vehicle
移
will
動さ
be
せて
moved,
当日の打ち
rolled
上げの
out
作業を進めて
to
まい
the
ります。
place called launch pad 1. That is
5ペー
seen
ジをお願
on
いしま
your
す。
left. Please go to page
5ページ
5.
は Y-3 から Y-0 までと
Y
いうことで
3 to
現在進
0
めております7
schedule.
月11日からの作業の概要を
So
示した
starting
も
from
のでござい
11th
ます。
July, you see the
こちら説
schedule.
明は割愛させていた
I'd
だ
like
きます。
to
後ほど
skip
ご確認
the
お願いいたし
detailed
ます。
explanation. Please take a look at them for your
6
at
ペ
your
ージは
leisure.
明日と明後日
Slide number 6
Y-0 の作業のスケ
talks
ジュー
about
ルを記載しております
Y-0 terminal countdown
明日
schedule
は
for today, for
13時
tomorrow.
頃から作業を開
And
始
the
し
day
ていきまし
after,
て
we will
機体
begin
の移
our
動を
operation
15時
from
半頃
13 o'clock
それから推進薬の充填の作業を
And,
20時半頃から開始して
from about 8:30. We will be loading the propellants, and then on the following day, around 5 o'clock a.m., we will plan to launch on the 15th of July.
7ページをご覧くだ
Please
さい。
refer to page number
7ページ
7.
は打ち上げ当日のカウントダウン作業
So
についてということで
this is concerning the terminal
それぞれ
countdown
の
on
時
the day
間ごと
of.
にどういった
And
作業
so
を
you
実
can
施してい
see
くかというこ
the
とを記載してお
timeline,
り
the
ます。
schedule
こちらも説明は
for
割愛いた
the
します。
activities,
通常
and
の H2A ロ
I
ケッ
will
トのカウン
not
トダウンの作業と同じ
speak
作
the
業内容
details
となってい
here.
ま
This
す。
follows the ordinary countdown procedure.
8ページをお願いします。
Slide number 8,
8ページ
please.
は42号機の
Slide
飛行
number
計画について示してござい
8
ます
shows。the flight plan for number 42.
リフトオフの後、固
After
体ロケッ
liftoff,
トブースタ
a
ーを
solid
分離
rocket
それから
booster
フ
will
ェアリン
burn
グを
out,
分離
jettison,
1段
and
2段
then
の分
we
離
will
を進めて
move
まいり
on
ます
to the
第
payload
2
fairing
弾に関
jettison,
しましては
followed by
1回目の
first
燃焼停
stage
止を11分
main engine
21
cutoff.
秒のところで予定しておりましてその後
the
56分39秒に
At
2回目の水
11:21,
力
that
立ち上
is
が
when
り
we start the
その後
second
1時
stage
間
engine
00
cutoff.
分33秒のところ
And
で
then at 1 hour,
2
0
回目の
minute,
第
33
2弾
seconds,
エ
we
ンジン
will
の
move
燃
on
焼停
to the
止
second stage
それ
engine
から
cutoff.
1時間1
From
分
there,
32秒
at
後に
1
ホ
hour,
ープの分
1
離
minute,
する
34 seconds,
計画
we
で進め
plan
てござい
to
ます
see separation of Hope.
はい、ただし、後ほども次のページでまたご説明いたしますけ
I
れ
will
ども
explain using the
今
following
回は
slide, and that
火
is
星に向
that
かうミッ
this
ションと
time,
いうことで
this is
打
a
ち上
mission
げ
to
日に
Mars.
よって
Therefore,
シ
depending
ー
on
ケン
the
スが少
launch
し変
date,
わっ
the
てまいります
sequencing
この
may
第2
slightly
弾エン
vary,
ジンの第
and
2
that
回
is the
着火
second
以降のシーケ
stage
ンスは
engine
打ち上げ
cutoff
日が変わる
after.
とその
If
タイ
the
ミング
launch
が
date
変わってくる
differs,
と
the
いう特
timing
徴
of the
がござ
cutoff
います
will change accordingly.
その点について説明しているのが9ページ
And that is
の
described
図になりま
on
す
slide number 9.
図の左上のところが日本、
Top left
種
is
子島から
Japan.
東
From
に向けて打ち上
Tanegashima
げた機
towards the
体
east,
が
launch
飛行
will
して
be
まいり
made,
ますけれ
and
ども
then a flight trajectory is illustrated here
黒い四
on
角
the
で書
slide,
いてい
and
る
the
の
black
が7
squares
月15日に打ち上げた場合の
are the
第
cases
2弾エン
when
ジン
the
の
launch is
再
made
着火
on
と
the July
第2回の
15th.
燃焼終了
That
の
is the engine cutoff
時間を
2 and
位置を
engine
示して
lock-in
ございます
2. This shows the timing and the
7
location.
月15日に打ち上げた場合にはこの南米を過ぎたあたりのところ
After
で
going
今申し上げました
past
シーケンスを行いますけ
the
れども
Latin America
例えば
area,
7
this
月
sequence will be
21日打
followed.
ち上げの場合は
However,
この赤
if
で
the launch
示
is
した
on the
場
21st
所
of
それから
July,
8月13日打ち上げの
the
場合は
timing and the
青
location will
の
be
赤い
represented
青
in
の丸
the
で示し
red
ているところで
triangle.
第2弾エン
And
ジンの
if the
着火
launch
と
case
燃
is
焼停止
August
ホープ分離を
13th,
行う
that
ということで
is
ここ
represented
が
by
日ごとにずれ
using
てくるというのが
the
今回の飛行
blue
計画の特
circles.
徴でござい
And
ま
so
す。
that is the characteristics of this
これは
flight plan
地球と
according to our
火星の
schedule.
相対位置
And
が
so
日
this
ごとに
is
ずれていく関係
because
で
of the correlating
それを調整するため
positioning
に飛行計
between
画を
Mars
変
and
更していると
the
いう いうものです。 最後10ページ目は
Lastly, slide number
42号機打
10.
ち上げの主要な制約条件を示
This
してございます。
shows some of the major criteria for the launch of number 42. The criteria are very generic, therefore I would like to omit my explanation concerning these criteria.
続きまして、気象情報について
Next, I would like to explain to you briefly about the meteorological situation. According to the meteorological agency, please do refer to your handout for the meteorological information. So today and tomorrow, the weather information is described in your handout. The rainy front is stagnant in and around Japan, and currently seen from Tanegashima, the rainy front is located north. However, this will gradually be shifting southward.
もう一枚の方の週間気象情
And
報
the
と
second slide, second page, shows the 7-day
シートをご覧くだ
forecast.
さい。
Please refer to the weekly
週間気
forecast.
象情報の一番左の端が7月
To the very
14
left,
日
we
明日の
have
天気になり
the
ます。
weather forecast for tomorrow, the 14th of July. And next to that, we have the forecast for the 15th of July, which is the
一番
scheduled
下のと
launch
ころ
date.
概
And
況
at the
のと
very
ころに示
bottom
しております
is
ただ
the
今申し上げました
description,
通り
and that
梅
is,
雨前
as I
線が
mentioned
この
before,
後
there is rainy
南下して
front
くる予報となっておりまして
stagnant and is
天
making
気と
its
しては
way.
下り坂今日の夜明日の夜か
And
ら
therefore,
明後日打
starting
ち上げ時
from
間帯に
tomorrow
かけまして
and over the night,
雷の発生の可能
there
性があ
could
る
be
ということが
potential
予報されてお
for
ります。
thunder and lightning.
ただし、現
However,
在
that
の予報
said,
といた
as
し
of
ましては、
today, the forecast is
ずっと激しい雷が
that there
鳴る
will
という
not
ものではない
be
ありませんの
very
で、
hard
打ち上げの
thunder
チ
and
ャンス
lightning
があると可能
continuously.
性がある
So
とい
we
うふう
believe
に
that
現
there
時点
is
では評
possibility
価してお
for
りま
us
す。
to
従いまして、
execute
今
according
後
to
作業を
the
進めてまい
scheduled
りま
launch
すけれども、
timing.
引き
So we will
続き気象
continue
情報に十
with
分
our
注意を払い
procedure.
まし
We
て
will be paying
必要な
our
判断を行っ
utmost
ていく計画としてお
attention
ります。
to proceed with caution and safety.
はい、私からの説明は以上です。
So that is all from me. Thank you.
ありがとうございました。続きまして MBRC シャラフ様より
Thank you
火
very
星探
much. And I
査
would
機
like to have
エムレ
Mr.
ッツマース
Harman
ミッションに
Sharaf
ついてご説明いただきた
to
いと思い
talk
ま
about
す。
the
シャラフ
Emirates
様お願
Mars
いいたし
Mission.
ます。
Mr. Sharaf, please.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to express the UAE sincere condolences for the losses of lives that happened because of the floods that hit Japan, and also, the people affected by that. And on top of that, also, I'd like to thank the Japanese government for their continuous support for making this happen, actually. Amongst very different difficult situations, given that the COVID-19 situation and the restrictions that have been imposed globally with regards to the travel and the shipment of items and so on. If it was not for the government, for the Japanese government, if it was not for the support from the people of Tanegashima, if it was not for the support of MHI, we wouldn't have been able to make it, to be honest. So for that, we would like to thank you and Japan, people of Tanegashima, and also MHI are all part of this journey. So again, thank you very much. If I may go to the slides, I can't see my slides, so I don't know if share it with me, so follow up with you. So the Mars Mars mission, it's a scientific mission. It's an orbiter that's going to be sent to study the Martian atmosphere. The main aspect of it is basically to understand the relationship between the lower layer and the upper layer of the Martian atmosphere and the rate of hydrogen and oxygen. That's going to be done using 3 instruments that we have on board our spacecraft. Basically, we have an imager with scientific application, an infrared spectrometer, and ultraviolet spectrograph. All of them will be working together to collect the data about Mars. So the mission, as was announced by the UAE government, the main purpose of it is scientific, but also there are other goals. They have objectives that are basically more related to the UAE, more related to the region. It's about inspiring Arab youth, inspiring Emirati youth about science and technology, to help a stronger science technology base in the country, a more advanced science technology sector, and to have it more integrated into our knowledge-based economy, and also to have a more competitive, innovative, and creative knowledge-based economy. So these are all the main objectives of the mission. So it's scientific, but also there's other big objectives that are strategic. And the UAE government is basically using the Mars mission as a catalyst for a shift in the mindset, for a disruptive change in different sectors, and also to build the infrastructure and the resources needed, and the ecosystem needed for the future of our economy. The launch will take place, as was announced, basically on the 15th as per current schedule, after the separation from the rocket. About 8 minutes after that, 6 to 8 minutes after that, the spacecraft will deploy its solar panels. Once the panels are deployed and the spacecraft has sun pointing, about 20 minutes to 30 minutes after that, we'll be receiving our first signal from the spacecraft through our ground station in UAE. So what we're using is basically, it's even the current total here in UAE, but we are linked to different antennas around the world. So we're utilizing the DSN network to basically communicate with our spacecraft. After the launch, also there's different activities that will take place, which includes commissioning of the spacecraft, making sure everything is fine. This phase will take about 2 weeks to 1 month, in which we assess the spacecraft and the status of the spacecraft, make sure that everything is fine. About 28 days from after launch, if everything is fine, we should have our first trajectory correction maneuver using our Delta thruster, which is very critical for us to actually starting our journey to Mars. So our journey to Mars is going to take 7 months. We're scheduled to arrive in Mars in February 2021, and basically stay in the capsule orbit for a month or two, depends, and then transition into our scientific orbit. We're going to be gathering data and basically calibrating the instruments, scientific instruments, and hope to start releasing our first set of data by September 2021, and hopefully sharing it with everyone. So the policy with regards to the data is basically the UAE government made it very clear that this data will be shared with everyone. There will be no restrictions with regards to who the data will be sharing with and how the data will be shared. So this is just a brief of status that we have. Of course, our journey, when we arrived in Tanegashima, we had to arrive earlier than scheduled. And again, thank you for the people of Tanegashima for allowing this to happen. And the reason why, because basically due to COVID-19 situation, so we had to put the team in a quarantine. So we had to send a team earlier 2 weeks before, and they had to go self-quarantine. And then another team that was accompanying the spacecraft, who handed over the spacecraft to the team was there, they also had to go into quarantine. So that's why it made more sense to send a team earlier and the spacecraft earlier than scheduled. And throughout that process, from that day till this day, a lot of things happened. We checked the status of the spacecraft, we checked the status of the instruments, and made sure that everything is fine. We also did the fueling. More than 800 kilograms of hydrogen fuel has been placed inside the spacecraft. The spacecraft has been encapsulated and safely put into the fairing, and the fairing has been placed into the rocket. So we are all looking forward for this event. Another very important collaboration between the UAE and Japan, and between United Arab Space Center and MHI. This collaboration didn't start today; it started a long time ago. So, and again, we're looking forward for the future, and especially with regards to the future missions, and also to the data that Emirates Mars Mission would be sharing. And we'd like definitely to have the scientific community in Japan to be part of the community that uses the data and hopefully come up with new discoveries about Mars. With that,
On July 15th, 2020, the first Arab mission to another planet will launch. The Hope probe will begin its 7-month-long journey to Mars. Approximately 1 hour after the launch, the probe will deploy its solar panels to recharge. On the same day, the probe will also send its first signal to the operations team. Missions to Mars can only happen once every 2 years, when Mars is at its closest approach to Earth. The probe will travel a distance of 493.5 million kilometers. During that journey, different operations and checks will be performed on the spacecraft and its instruments. Fast forward to February 2021, the probe will perform Mars orbit insertion, entering its first orbit around the planet. A month later, the probe will maneuver into its science orbit, where it starts studying the Martian atmosphere. It can capture data using 3 scientific instruments: Emirates Mars Ultraviolet Spectrometer, in use, Emirates Exploration Imager, EXI, Emirates Mars Infrared Spectrometer, EMIRS. Scientists and engineers will analyze captured data and share 1 terabyte of data with the international science community, while also celebrating the UAE's 50th anniversary.
はい、ありがとうございました。
Thank you
そ
very
れで
much.
は質疑の方に移りたいと思
And
い
now
ま
we
す。
would like to move on
ご
to
質
the
問のあ
question
る
and
方は挙
answer
手ボタンを押して
portion.
お知らせく
If
だ
you
さい。
have
司
a
会より
question,
指名、
please
マイ
press
クミュー
the
トを
raise of
解
the
除しま
hand
すの
button.
で、その
The
タイミングでよろし
facilitator
けれ
will
ば
be
ご自身の
appointing
カ
you
メラをオンにしてお
and
話しください。
unmuting your microphone.
ご所属
And
とお名
at
前
that
の後
point,
にど
please
ちら宛ての質問かをお
speak.
知らせください。
Please
質
state
問
your
は
name
今回
as
の
well
打
as
ち
your
上げに関するも
affiliation
のに
and
限
let
って
us
いただ
know
きますようお願い
to
しま
whom
す。
your
ま
question
た
is
今回
addressed.
は日本語、英語の
And
同
today
時通
we
訳
do
を入れ
have
て
a
の進行
simultaneous
となります
translation
ので、
service between
ご質
Japanese
問
and
はゆっ
English.
くりは
And
っ
so
きり
please make sure
登壇者
to
ごと
clearly
1問ずつお
articulate at a
願いいた
moderate
します。
speed and 1 question per
それ
speaker,
ではご
please.
質問のある方は挙手をお願いいた
If
し
you
ま
have a
す。
question, please raise your hand.
それでは、JST サイエンス、ポータル草加様からのご質問を受けしたいと思
Mr.
います。
Kusaka from Japan Science and
今マイク
Technology
をミュート
Agency.
解除をしております。
We
草加
are
様、
now
ご質
unmuting
問
your
いかがでしょう
microphone.
か。
Do you have a question, Mr.
聞こえますでしょう
Kusaka?
か。
はい、聞こえ
Yes,
てお
this
り
is
ます。
Kusaka speaking. Can you hear me?
ちょっとカメラが使えないので、
Yes, I am
音
not
の
able
みですい
to
ま
use
せん。
my
よろし
camera,
くお願い
so
します。
audio only for me.
オムランシャラフさんに一つ質
I
問した
do
いと
have
思
a
います。
question to
今日は
Mr.
会
Sharoff.
見に出ていただきま
Thank
し
you
てあ
very
りが
much
と
for
うご
your
ざいま
attendance
す。
at this pre-launch
それ
press
で科学
briefing.
的なホープの科学的なことについて伺いたい
So
ん
I
で
would
す
like
が、
to ask you some
ご
scientific
説明の
questions
中で大
concerning
気圏
hope.
の
You
上層と
mentioned
下層をです
about
ね、
the
切り
upper
分け
and
て
lower
考
atmosphere,
え
how
られ
you
て、それ
are
で観測を
separating
さ
the
れ
two
るというよう
between
な
upper
お
and
話で
lower
した。
to gather
こ
data.
の観測のご説明いただきましたが、
So given
それ
the
によって
explanation,
火星の
I
大気の
wonder
どんなわからないことを分かろ
what
うとしている
sort
の
of
かと、
questions are you
そ
trying
の
to
観測の狙
clarify
いについて
through
伺
this
いたいと思います。
mission?
お願いします。
What is your main mission?
Thank you very much for the question. So yeah, as I mentioned earlier, so we're studying the relationship between the upper layer and the lower layer and the escape rate of hydrogen and oxygen. However, what's unique about this mission is that for the first time, the scientific community around the world will get a holistic view of the Martian atmosphere at different times of the day, at different seasons. So there has been missions that have been sent before to study the Martian atmosphere. However, it's been only for a specific time of the day, at a specific season. So this is the first time ever a full view of the Martian atmosphere will be available to the scientific community at different seasons, at different times of the day also. So that's what makes us as a mission unique. And it's these questions that we came up with. It was basically based on very close discussions with the scientific community, which includes MIPAC. MIPAC, as you know, is a group of scientists basically that are concerned and focused on coming up with new scientific questions for future missions. And these questions are usually generated from previous missions. So based on the results they get from previous missions, they come up with these scientific questions. And they're actually, I think, hosted by NASA, however, includes scientists from around the world. So this is how we come up with this question, and it's basically this question, these investigations. So it's basically that's something that the scientific community really needs. I hope I answered the question.
あ ありがとうございます。そうすると火星という星は今まで
Thank you very much. So then, I think the U.S. has been the leader over the years in launching to the Martian atmosphere. However, they were not able to capture the holistic picture of the Martian atmosphere, including the seasonality. And so you will be looking into understanding the more holistic atmosphere, including seasonality variances.
Yes.
どうもありがとうございました。私から以上です。
はい、ありがとうございます。それでは次に、ニコビデオの金子様からのご質問を受けしたいと思います。金子様のマイクを解除しております。金子様いかがでしょうか。
金子さん、please ask your question.
三菱重工の鈴木様にお伺いしたいん
I
で
have
す
a
けれど
question
も、
to Mr. Suzuki,
今
my
回ちょっと天気
NHI.
がちょっと難しいというこ
And
と
the
で、
weather
もしです
conditions
ね、
are
天
kind
候
of
等の理由
challenging
で
to
打ち上げが
us.
延期になった
So
場合で
if
す
there
ね、
is
1
any
日につきど
delay,
れぐらいこう
so
時間がずれてい
how
くというの
many
が分かっていれば教え
minutes
てくださ
will
い。
be the slippage per day if there is a delay?
はい。打ち上げが延期になった場合には、
When
打ち上
there
げ
is
時
a
刻が少し
delay,
ずつずれ
the
てまいりま
launch
す。
time will be
今回のずれ
slipped
方
or
は、
delayed a little by little.
日ごとに少し
And
複雑な変わり方をいたしまし
we
て、
have the
数
daily
分から
changes,
数十
maybe a
分の
couple of
範囲
minutes
で
or
早くなったり
10
遅くなった
or
り
more than
しま
10
す。
minutes and
おおむね
sometimes earlier
朝の5時
or
から
later.
朝の8
But
時までの
usually
間の
between 5 o'clock to 8
の間
o'clock.
で打ち上げるという
So
ことになります。
in the period of time between 5 to 8 in the morning.
わかりました。ありがとうございます。
Thank you very much.
はい、それでは次 NHK 鹿児島支
Next from
局
NHK
堀川
Kagoshima,
様のご質問を受けしたいと思います。
we'd like to take your
堀
question.
川様のマイクをミュートしておりま
We
す。
have unmuted your microphone.
堀川さんいかがでしょうか。
Horikawa-san, did you have a question?
NHK の堀川です。
This is Horikawa from
はい、聞こえて
NHK.
おりま
Are
す。
you able to hear me? Yes.
すみません、よろしくお願いいたします。
Thank you for the
鈴
opportunity
木さんと
today.
オムランさん
I
の方
have
に
a question to both Mr. Suzuki and Mr.
最初に
Shara.
鈴木さんの方にお尋ねしたんです
First
け
to
ども
Mr. Suzuki.
先ほどその天候のところで、
So you
ず
gave
っ
us
と
some
激しい
meteorological
雷が鳴るわけ
information,
ではないという
and you said that the thunder and lightning is not going to be
その
continuous.
これで射
It'll
程に
be
受けておかれている
intermittent.
ので、リスクもあるのかなと思います。
However, I do believe that there may be some risks
大移動前
given
に
the
判
meteorological
断していくということに
conditions.
なるのか、そういったその気象の見極め方も含めて、
So I
どういう
wonder how you make that judgment given the weather information, whether to
はい、
launch.
おっしゃる通りでございまして、
Thank
次
you
の
very
判
much
断
for
の
your
タイミングと
question.
しては、
Yes, the
北
next
移
go
動
no
の
go
前
decision
を予
is
定しており
prior
まし
to the
て、その
rollout
タイミ
of
ン
the
グで
launch
最新
vehicle.
の
And
気
so
象
at
状
that time,
況
we will
を確
be
認し
checking
て、
the latest
さ
weather
らに作業を進
information
めるのか、
to
その
determine
時
whether
点
or
で
not to
延期を
proceed any
決定する
further.
のか判断して
We
まいり
may
たいと
end
考えており
up
ます。
deciding to postpone at that point.
この今のところではその
So as of
こ
now,
作業を進めていくということだと。
you will be proceeding.
そのあたりをなんていうかちょっと
So
今回海外の衛星も受注しての打ち上げということで、どういう
I understand that this is an international client, and so with that in mind, how do you feel about the decision making?
はい、海外の衛星であることによって特に私
Just
ど
because
も
of the
の
fact
判
that
断
it
が
is
変わ
an
ることは
international
なく
satellite,
て
it is not going to impact our
一つ一つ
decision
確実
making.
にデータに
We
基づ
are
いて
to
冷静
surely,
に判断を行っていくということに尽きると考えております。
based on the facts, we'll be making our judgment with safety in mind, of course.
あともう
Thank you.
小村シャラフさんに
My next question goes to Mr. Sharaf.
先ほど火星の大気をですね、
Again, you mentioned about the Martian atmosphere and understanding the atmosphere in Mars. So ultimately,
探査とかですね、どういったところに
I wonder if you're thinking about a manned probe,
展望
manned
将来的な
robots,
展望をちょっと教えて
or if you can talk about the future prospect.
Thank you for the question. So currently, as a space program in the UAE, we have different initiatives and different programs. We do have plans for the future within our space program to actually have more missions in general and sustainable outer space exploration missions. However, when it comes to the manned one, as you know, we had Najah al-Mansouri, who was sent last year to the International Space Station and has been working and spent some time there and did some work there. And hopefully, and the UAE announced earlier that we are looking for 2 more astronauts. So basically, we are trying to have more of a sustainable manned space program in which we participate in the international efforts when it comes to the International Space Station and other efforts. When it comes to outer space exploration, we have basically the different program that was announced with Mars 2117. It's a 100-year plan to actually help in building capacity to support the global effort in putting maybe one day human on Mars. But as the UAE, are we building currently a mission to put someone there? No, we're still not doing that. We're focused on the current mission. We have a strategy to contribute to the global effort and in developing technologies and science work that will help one day putting, if the humanity decide to put a human around Mars one day, like we hope that these efforts contribute to that one day. But when it comes to the manned program, currently we're focused on the International Space Station and the standard efforts that other nations are pursuing when it comes to the astronaut programs and so on. I hope I answered that question.
Hi. わかりました。ありがとうございます。
Thank you
あり
very
がとうござい
much.
ます。それでは、次に MBC 南日本放送
NBC 南日本ブロードキャスティング尾形さん、
マイクを切
It's your
り
turn.
替えております。マイク、尾形さんのマイクオンになりました。いかがでしょうか。
So 尾形さん 's microphone is now
MBC の
on.
尾形と申します。聞こえてます
I'm
でしょう
Ogata.
か。
Can you hear me? Yes.
よろしくお願いします。鈴木さんにお伺いしたいんですけれども。
I have a question to Mr. Suzuki first.
すみません、ちょっとカメラがつかないのでこのまま失礼します。
Sorry, my camera is not working.
すみません。今回も新型コロナの影響が残る中での
So COVID-19 impacts lingering
前回島に入る人員を2割から3割減らしたというような話もありますが、
20% headcounts were reduction. There was a reduction of 20% or 30% of the headcounts for the entry of the Tanegashima.
今回も
So
基
how
本
was
的
the
には
work
前回
this time?
H2B9 号機の時と同
Yes,
じ
the
対策を
H2B9
引き続き丁寧に実施してきており
the
ます。
countermeasures were
人
also
数に関
taken
しましても
for
ほぼ
H2A as
前
well.
号機の時と同じ体制
Actually,
で
the
臨んでお
number
りまし
of
て
staff members are almost the same as
従来の人員に比べると
before.
2割から3割減
But actually, the 20% or 30%,
おります。
the headcounts were reduced to 20. So we continue with the 20% or 30% reduction in headcounts.
海外との行き来が難しい状況だったと思うんですが、
And currently, it was maybe difficult to go overseas or accept people from overseas. And we talked about the 14-day quarantine. And so, could you kind of specify what kind of actions did you take to prevent virus
からのお客
infection?
様に対してどういう
So,
対
are
策
you
を
talking
取っていただ
about
いたかという
the
ご質問
countermeasures
で
for the overseas visitors? Yes, that's right. That's my question. And also, when it comes to the correspondence or interaction with people from overseas, how difficult or how
ま
challenging
ず
was
海外
that?
からいらっしゃってくださった方に関しまして
So
も
we
基本
have
的には
people from
私
overseas.
どもが種子島で実施しているのと同じ対策を取ってい
And
た
all
だ
the
きました。
measures
具体
taken
的
in
に申し上げます
Tanegashima
と
applied to
国
the
同士の
people from
検疫
overseas as
は
well.
きちっと済ませ
Of
ていただい
course,
た
in
上で
addition
さらに
to the
種子島
national
にお越し
quarantine,
いただいなった
we,
後2週間の
after
間
the
は徹底
arrival
した外出
to
自
the
粛ご協力いただい
Tanegashima,
て
we asked
マスク
them
の着
to
用にもご協力
stay
いただ
at
いておりま
the
す。それから手洗いです
accommodation
とか
as much as
毎
possible.
日の体温
And
の確
also the
認などについても
hand
ご協力い
sanitization
ただ
and
くように
etc.
お
have
願
been
いしてござい
applied
ます。
to those who arrived from overseas into Tanegashima. And due to COVID-19 impact, actually we did not have the hindrance to the communication. We have been able to have the good communication regardless of the impact from the COVID-19. But when it comes to the daily interaction, for example, the interaction with the people in the town, we are refrained from going out. Therefore, we have not been able to have a friendly interaction with the people and they are on the island, for example, which may be unfortunate. Okay, thank you very much.
それでは次に読売新聞笹本様の
Next from Yomiuri Shimbun newspaper, 笹本さん。
笹本様のマイクを解除しております。
The microphone is now being muted. 笹本さん。
ご質問お願いします。
Question, please.
読売新聞の笹本です。
This is Sasamoto speaking from Yomiuri Shimbun. Are you able to hear me? Yes, we can hear you. Thank you very much. I do have some questions to Mr. Sharaf.
まず今回の打ち上げサービスの契約先として三菱重工を
as a contractor, you chose MHI this time, and I wonder what was enticing about MHI. What were the attractiveness of MHI in selecting them? That's my first question. We'll go one by one.
When it came to selecting selecting the launcher, we looked at different options. We looked at options in the US, in Europe, and Asia, and basically based on the criteria that we set, which we had, we selected MHI. So the criteria that we had basically looked at the heritage, at the capacity, the rocket capacity, the success rate, the price, and so on. So all these came together, and we did a proper assessment, and we approached different companies and launch service providers, and MHI actually won the bid and had the best proposal that meets our criteria and our requirements.
Thank you very much. Next question. Just to confirm about the orbit this time, to 20,000 to 43,000, is that correct? And also, it's not a perfect circle, this orbit, but it's more oval.
It's an elliptical orbit, yes. And as you mentioned, it's at its lowest point is 20,000 kilometers. It goes up to 43,000 kilometers. And this is why we're able to actually provide the scientific community with this holistic view of the Martian atmosphere at different times of the day, at different seasons. One of the unique things about this mission is the orbit itself. And it's a 55-hour orbit.
あともう一つ最後に教えてください。
Thank you. Last question. As UAE,
RSC として
as MBRC,
火星に居住地を建設するというプランを
I believe that there is a plan of having residents set up in 2117, and so I wonder how this mission is going to connect to that future plan of 2117.
So basically, the Mars 2117, as I mentioned earlier, is an initiative that was announced by the UAE government. A big part of it is actually to give a commitment to the young Emiratis that we are investing in this area when it comes to actually outer space exploration for the next 100 years. Because one of the things that we thought from the Emirati youth after announcing the Emirates Mars mission, a question that came up was, what guarantees us that there's going to be future missions? If we go into sciences and we're switching majors, we're actually going into a new field. What guarantees us that there's something that comes after the Mars mission? So that's why the UAE government announced Mars 2117 as a commitment to the Emirati youth that there is a career opportunity in this field for the next 100 years. When it comes to the that mission. The Mars 2117 is a continuation of the bigger national space program that we have in the UAE, which includes, as I said, the outer space exploration program. And it's about building technologies that address certain challenges that we have on Earth. Also, there is these challenges that would be also faced by people in outer space. If one day humanity decides to put a human in Mars, then that human will have to use different kind of technologies to survive, whether it's related to water, whether it's related to food, whether it's related to renewable energy. This is critical for us to put a human on Mars. However, these technologies are also extremely critical for Earth, especially in regions that have harsh environment like deserts and so on. So it's about addressing our national challenges through that program by building capacity and capability. If we are able to support and build technology that's able to put the first human on Mars and make him survive there, then this technology can definitely be used on Earth and actually help humanity and serve humanity, especially in areas with very harsh environments.
Thank you very
あ
much.
りがとうございます。それでは次に、UAE のメディアの方からもご質問をお
We
受
have
け
a
したいと思います。
question, maybe from the media from UAE.
نجيب الخش من تلفزيون دبي. 後ほど日本語で話しますけれども、アラビア語の通訳はないんですよね。日本語と英語ですね。わかりました。では最初は少しだけアラビア語でشرف سامي مكتب. سأتحدث باليابانية يعني ليكون هناك ترجمة إلى الإنجليزية إلى اليابانية عفوا من اليابانية إلى الإنجليزية ومن ثم إلى العربية. ولكن سؤالي يتعلق بالتعاون الثنائي الإماراتي الياباني وموقعه في مخططات التعاون المستقبلية بين البلدين، وأيضا تعقيب على السؤال الأخير للزميلة الذي يتعلق ب يعني دور هذا المشروع في المشروع العلمي العام لدولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة.
I have a question. This Mars probe is going to go to Mars to try to understand the atmosphere, weather, and especially, actually, desertification of the Earth can be tackled with data obtained from the Mars mission. So I'd like to know about the collaboration between Japan and UAE. So using the results from the mission, the two countries may be able to have the collaboration not only in the space programs but also in the other areas. So is there any such plan or vision that you might have? If any, please let me know. And Japan UAE cooperation. There may be hurdles, for example, language hurdles may exist, and there are different ways of doing practices in both of the countries. But we do believe that there has been maybe know-how accumulated through this program. So Harry Fassad and AMM, there may be progress in terms of the collaboration and the style of the collaboration. So could you elaborate on that a little bit, please?
I don't know if this is a question for me, to be honest. I'm a little bit, because the voice translation was not very clear. So is that a question for me?
إذن سأوجه السؤال بالعربية مرة أخرى. ممكن أن يكون هناك صوت مباشر على ما أعتقد. بالنسبة للتطبيقات المباشرة لنتائج مهمة المريخ الحالية، مهمة مسبار الأمل ستأتي بنتائج علمية يقال يعني بلغنا أنه يمكن استخدامها لتطبيقات على كوكب الأرض، ممكن بعضها يتعلق بمكافحة التصحر وما إلى ذلك. فهل هناك مخطط لاستمرار التعاون بين دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة واليابان لاستخدام تلك النتائج في مثل تلك التطبيقات خارج نطاق علم الفضاء، ضمن الإطار الذي ذكرتموه قبل قليل في الإجابة على سؤال آخر حول دخول يعني هذه المهمة في إطار شامل للنهضة العلمية في دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة؟ يعني هل هناك نعم شكرا.
طبعا الحين ما اعرف اجاوب عليه باللغه العربيه والانجليزيه، بس بجاوب بالعربيه. من ناحيه مثل ما ذكرت اليوم بعد، المعلومات هاي ان شاء الله نحن عن طريق المسبار وفرن المسبار بيتم مشاركتها مع جميع دول العالم، ما بيكون اي قيود يتم وضعها على هذه البيانات. فالتعاون ونحن في مشروع اسمار الامل في برنامج فضاء دوله الامارات بصوره عامه، بالنسبه لنا التعاون هو اساس برامجنا العلميه والتقنيه. برنامج فضاء الامارات بدا اصلا في برنامج نقل معرفه، ليست واحد بس، واستمر، ونفس الشيء مع مشروع مسبار الامل. فالتعاون الدولي هو عنصر اساسي بالنسبه لنا. يعني بلا شك يعني نحن ان شاء الله يوم توصلنا البيانات سيتم مشاركتها يعني المجتمع الدولي، واليابان ضمن هذا المجتمع الدولي العلمي. وكدولة الإمارات نحن بالعكس ما عندنا أي يعني قيود في التعاون مع دول صديقة وحلفاء نفس اليابان.
Mr. Sharaf, can you be kind enough to speak in English what you have answered?
The question?
Yes, the summary of your answer. Thank you.
Yes. So my answer to the question was, as I mentioned earlier today, the UAE will not impose any restrictions when it comes to the data that the Mars Mission will be providing. So it will be given provided openly to everyone, and definitely. As a nation, as a part of our national space program, international collaboration has always been the core and pillar in our program. The UAE Space Program started actually with international collaboration. We talk about Dubai-Sat 1, Dubai-Sat 2, the knowledge transfer program that we started in Dubai-Sat 2. We collaborated with JAXA on our propulsion system. Khalitha-Sat was launched on the MHI rocket. Mars Mission is being launched now on the MHI rocket. So as the nation, we collaborate with everyone when it comes to scientific work, when it comes to missions like this. And definitely, the data will be shared with the community, which includes scientists from Japan. And as a mission and as a space program, we don't have any issues and any problems. Like we have no issues collaborating with the scientific community in Japan. And as I said, it's a big pillar in our program. If it was not for international collaboration, we wouldn't have been able to deliver this mission in 6 years compared to other missions which usually take longer. So with that, I end my answer.
Could
Mr. Suzuki answer to the same question? Please repeat your question, please. So concerning cooperative projects, so there was the previous mission, and we have this mission that is being conducted. And so I wonder whether there have been improvements made in working together, and whether there has been enhancement on the capabilities on the parties involved. And I wonder if there could be further enhancement as we go forward, and the result of the data that is obtained this time, if there's going to be more broader collaboration into the future. That is my question. Well, first of all, concerning this particular Hope mission, this is a successor of number 45 launch. So we have been communicating very thoroughly with our partner throughout the project. And also we have been receiving various comments as well. And MHI works closely together with MBRSC to accurately and surely launch the rocket. We have been receiving very valuable feedback and opinion from MBRSC. And the comments received from the previous project have been reflected onto this project this time, and we have come this far. And through this particular operation as well, we have been receiving various advice and comments. I'm sure there'll be more to come. And after the completion of this mission, I hope to have an opportunity for us to reflect back on this project so that we can link this to the next project that we can hopefully collaborate. Now, aside from the launch of the rocket, I am not in the position to answer, I'm afraid.
それでは、次に南日本新聞五反田記者からの、ご質問を受けしたいと思います。南日本新聞の五反田さんのマイクを、オンにしております。五反田さん、マイクがオンになりました。いかがでしょうか。
南日本新聞社の五反田です。今日はありがとうございます。
五反田さん、はい、どうぞ。
So Gotanda-san, Ms. Gotanda, please ask a question. I have a question to Mr. Suzuki of MHI. So you have said that you are going to have the launch just as usual, even though it's the payload from the foreign country, but you have had the 4 commercial payload from the foreign country. Do you have any comment on that? That's right. This is the 4th project when it comes to the overseas payload. And the H2A rocket so far, including H2B, we have a high success on-time launch rate. And accurate launches have been highly evaluated. That's why we have had these 4 projects, I believe. So we'd like to be in the option lists of the satellite or payload in the overseas countries. We would like to make best effort to deliver the launch on time and very accurately. Thank you very much. I also have a question to Mr. Amran Sharaf. Can I ask a question? So you talked about why you chose MHI. One of the reasons is the price, and including a price, you had a kind of holistic assessment. And what is the major portion? Is it price? Is the major factor you decided on MHI? Mr. Suzuki also talked about the success rate of the launch. So what is the reason? Could you explain it in more detail?
I'm very sorry, but the translation is very bad. It's very noisy, the line.
Okay, I will try to translate a little more slowly. So you talked about the reasons why you have chosen MHI, and you also included the price is one of the reasons why you decided on MHI. But I actually once again want to know the reason why the MHI was successfully chosen for your service provider. Is the price only reason or any other reason that you thought important?
Okay. So there's a lot of noise in the translation. Just I'll try. I think I understood the question.
Yeah, the question is why you have chosen you have selected Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, MHI, for your launch provider. What is the main top reason? Only the price, or otherwise, other than prices. What is your main reason that you have selected MHI for your launch provider?
Thank you very much. So, as I mentioned earlier, again, I would like to repeat what I said earlier, is that we have a criteria. When we looked at the criteria, we don't just look at the price, we looked at everything. So we have the heritage we have to look at, we have the success rate we have to look at, we have to look at the capacity of the launch vehicle provider, what can they give us, and at the same time, we have to look at the price also. So we look at it as all, so it's not just the price. So as mentioned earlier, we have a set of criteria when it comes to selecting and set of technical requirements, and basically MHI met our criteria and met our technical requirements.
ご丹田さんよろしいでしょうか。
Gotanda-san, are you satisfied with the answer?
すみません、こちらで聞いてふさわしいのかわからないんですけれども、
I'm not sure if I could ask you this,
大きさでありますとか重さ、
but I wonder about the size, the weight of the probe, if you are aware.
It's, the weight of the probe is around 1.35 tons. About 800 kilograms of it is actually fuel.
全長などわかられますか？展開時の全長はわかりますか？
And at the time of deployment, what is the size, the length?
So with the solar panels deployed, it's going to be about roughly 8 meters in width.
ありがとうございます。
Thank you very much.
はい、それではお時間が、参りましたので、本日の、打ち上げ前ブリーフィング、
So I
こ
think
れに
it's
て
time
終
to
了さ
wrap
せ
up
てい
the
ただきたいと思い
press
ま
briefing.
す。本日はご参加いただき
Thank
ま
you
し
very
て
much for your
誠にあり
attendance
がとうございまし
for
た。
this
Thank you very
pre-launch press
much for your kind
briefing for
cooperation,
H2A
Mr.
flight number 42. And thank you very much, Mr. Sharaf.
Thank you very much. Thank you.